Hey everyone, it's Mojaxx back in the DJ City UK lab, and today I'm reviewing the Pioneer DJ XDJ-1000MK2 player. Now, as that Mark II designation might well hint to you, this is not a new product. It is a refinement of the original XDJ-1000, and I was a big fan of that original XDJ, to the point that I actually bought one for myself. I bought it to use as a third deck alongside my Nexus players, and in the end, I did end up selling it on and getting rid of it, not because I didn't like it, but because I just couldn't justify having it around. I wasn't getting enough use out of it. But 2 years on, that original unit that I bought is still going strong with the guy that I sold it to. And I was never disappointed with the performance, with the features of that original XDJ-1000. So the question is this: has the Mark II actually brought much new to the table? That's what we're looking at here. You know, in many respects, they're very, very similar players. The actual hardware and everything else is pretty close to the original XDJ-1000. And also there has been a bit of a price jump. We've gone from about $1,000 street price to $1,200. Not massive, but still an appreciable difference. So yeah, these have been for a while now the kind of entry-level, full-size Pioneer players. Are they still worth the money? Let's dive in and find out. Yes, in physical terms, there is really little to call between the original XDJ-1000 and the Mark II. They're the same size with much the same layout, and the new version retains the 7-inch touchscreen found on the previous model. There are a couple of visual tweaks like the lighter silver colour on the feet and the strip around the edge of the jog wheel, which adds a touch of flair, but not much else. Construction wise, they are much the same as Pioneer DJ's mid-range players have always been. Lightweight but sturdy and solid, if not on the same level as the tank-like Nexus decks. The most important physical controls are all laid out as well as ever. The transport stuff, loop controls, the pitch control, and the large jog wheel with the internal display. All standard CDJ/XDJ fixtures, and all as comfortable as you would expect. The jog wheel has no tension adjustment, but it is preset to a nice compromise between tight and loose. My only concern there is that the jogs do tend to get a bit looser over time, so after a couple of years these might be a bit more free spinning than I would like, but out of the box they are spot on. They've retained the single dial for adjusting break and release time found on the original 1000, and that's my one real bugbear with the Mark II. The XDJ-700 had a far more practical, in my opinion, option to just have a break on, with release time staying instant all the time. If you use the break function, you're going to find yourself messing with that knob a bit more often than you might like. It's not a deal breaker, but still a bit annoying. When it comes to hookups, there is one big change on the rear. Alongside the regular line output, Ethernet port and USB, there is also a digital output. It's an interesting addition when you consider that only Pioneer DJ's very highest end mixers have those inputs, but still a welcome one. I always value extra ways of hooking things up, and there's a lot to be said about the simplicity and quality of a digital connection, which removes one digital to analog conversion from the signal chain. The DACs in the XDJs do sound great, but the less of them you have, always the better. Interestingly, they have removed the remote jack input for fader start. Now, I don't think I've actually ever met anyone who uses that, so it doesn't seem like a massive loss to me, but that functionality can be done with a mixer hooked up over Pro DJ Link. So if you do need that functionality, you'll need to look at a mixer like the 900 Nexus 2 to keep that going. So what does set the Mark II apart from its predecessor? Well, for starters, the unit now supports some more audio formats, FLAC and Apple lossless. This is a big deal for many DJs coming to rekordbox from other platforms, and after that support made its debut on the Nexus 2, it was important for Pioneer DJ to migrate it down the range, so I'm glad to see it here. There are two new buttons beside the touchscreen, the first being the track filter. This is killer, and one of my favourite aspects of rekordbox. You can hold it down to edit your parameters, then pushing it will filter the currently displayed list by those parameters. So you can show just, for example, all the tracks in the playlist which have compatible keys with the playing track, or similar ratings, or your own tags. It is super powerful stuff. You also have the shortcut button, which lets you adjust a bunch of settings quickly and easily and jump to various places in your media. Like the track filter, this has come down from the Nexus 2 and is a great addition. Speaking of the Nexus 2s, within the touchscreen we find a bunch of other stuff which was first found on those players, like the 2 banks of 4 hot cues and the colour waveforms. The original 1000 actually had the QWERTY searching first, and in fact the 1000 Mark II still outdoes the Nexus 2 in one area, beat jump, whereas on the Nexus 2 it's locked to 1 beat. On the XDJ you get a choice of 1, 2 or 4 beats. Much more helpful, although an option of even bigger values would be welcomed. It's worth mentioning HID mode at this point. After the release of the Nexus 2, Pioneer DJ added support for the large waveforms when using HID with Rekordbox, and that really transforms the usability of the setup, and the XDJ-1000MK2 has that out of the gate. You can utilize the audio interfaces in the players, making setup really simple, and again, the sound quality from those is excellent. With the large waveforms there, you really do lose zero functionality from the players when you're using HID with Rekordbox DJ, and that was always my complaint with HID in the past. It should be noted that at the time of this review, there is no support for HID mode with Traktor or Serato DJ, but as both platforms just began supporting the Nexus 2, let's keep our fingers crossed on that front. Another great upgrade is the ability to hook up your laptop running Rekordbox in export mode, which is the free option, to the Pro DJ Link network by plugging into a USB port on the rear of an XDJ-1000MK2. A lot of modern laptops just don't have an Ethernet port anymore, so that makes life a lot simpler. In many scenarios, that's still my favourite Rekordbox setup. You have full access to your library whilst putting very little demand on your laptop. The final change to discuss is, for me, the biggest one of all. As much as I do like the touchscreens on the XDJ-1000s, it is still a bit fiddly going between different modes, and for the likes of hotkeys, pushing on a screen will never feel as good as a physical button. Well, now you can plug a DDJ SP1 into a USB port on top of an XDJ-1000MK2 when playing in standalone mode, and you can use it to control a bunch of stuff on up to 4 players. You can select which deck on the SP1 controls which player, which wasn't on the Nexus 2 at first, although it is now, and then you have access to cues, loops, beat jumps, sync, slip mode and more. It's simply fantastic as far as I'm concerned, and elevates performance possibilities when playing off a USB drive to a whole new level. Previously for me, the main reason for upgrading to Nexus 2s for home use would have been those physical hot cues, and with an SP1 hooked up, that is basically negated. It's really cool stuff. So there you go, my take on the XDJ-1000MK2s. You know, $1,200 per deck is not an insignificant amount of money. By no definition are these budget players. However, they are substantially cheaper than the Nexus 2s, which are like double the price. And in terms of performance and features, you're actually missing very little. So if you're looking for a full-size club-style player for your home setup, these are the way to go, without question. You know, yeah, it's still a lot of money, but the savings compared to the Nexus 2s are massive, and there's really not a lot to call, especially once you've got an SP1 hooked up for that physical control of hot cues and loops and everything else. That sets the Mark IIs apart from the originals massively. The other improvements I really like are the increased file formats that are available to you. You know, Apple lossless and FLAC, that's a big deal. Glad to see that making its way through the range. I love the track filter stuff on the new Pioneer generation of products. I really like that. It makes playing in standalone mode far better. The HID improvements are huge, and the digital output as well. For me, it's not an essential really for the market these are aimed at, but it's a nice additional touch. So compared to the original XDJ-1000, I do think the price increase, that extra $200, is worth it. I do think a lot of people will have to think very carefully if they really need a club standard size player in their house. Can you get away with a controller? Can you get away with the 700s? If you're into that Pioneer ecosystem, do you really need these players? A lot of people will have to think carefully about that. But for me, that standalone playback with the SP1 hooked up, these are fantastic. And I don't think they're particularly bad value. I think you are getting your money's worth. It's just a big kind of investment in the first place. So yeah, definitely for home use, these are the way to go. Forget the Nexus 2s. They're great for the club, but the XDJ-1000MK2s, yeah, this is like the peak standalone and home setup right now. I'm not mad at that at all. Thank you for watching today. Make sure you subscribe for all our future tips, tricks, and product reviews. I'll see you soon.